My soon-to-be ex-wife is begging me to help raise the baby she had with her boss. She keeps saying it was her body, her choice. I told her that's true, but the consequences are hers to live with, not mine. Hello, Reddit I, plus here. I never imagined my marriage would end over someone else's child. I'm 38. My wife is 36. We had been together for almost 12 years and married for 6. We had 3 amazing children, a comfortable home, stable careers, and what I believed was a solid marriage. We weren't rich, but we were happy. Or at least I thought we were. Looking back now, I realize she had already made the biggest decision of our marriage long before she ever spoke to me about it. It happened on an ordinary Thursday evening. The kids were finishing dinner while we talked about work and weekend plans. Then she cleared her throat. I have something important to tell you. I smiled. What is it? I'm going to carry a baby, I laughed. You mean we're having another? She looked almost offended. No, not ours. I remember every second after that because my entire life split into 2 versions, the one before that sentence and the one after. She explained that the owner of the company where she worked and his wife had spent years trying to have children. Multiple IVF treatments had failed. They were devastated. Apparently, they had approached her months earlier. Months, not days, months. She had already attended appointments, completed medical testing, signed legal paperwork, and been approved before she ever mentioned it to me. I asked the obvious question. So, you already agreed? She nodded. I wanted to wait until everything was finalized. I could barely breathe. You volunteered to carry another couple's child without even asking your husband? She folded her arms. It's my body. I nodded slowly. It is. Then she delivered the sentence I'll never forget. My body, my choice. You don't get a vote. I stared at her for what felt like forever. Then I quietly answered, You're right. She smirked. I knew you'd eventually understand. No. I stood up. You're right that it's your body, and it's my choice whether I stay married to someone who makes life-changing decisions without me. Her smile disappeared. Wait, what? If you go through with this pregnancy, our marriage is over. She rolled her eyes. Stop being dramatic. I'm not, she laughed. You'll calm down. Instead, I met with a lawyer the next morning. A week later, she was served with divorce papers. The confidence vanished from her face immediately. She called me crying. You can't actually be divorcing me. I already did. This is because of the pregnancy? No. It's because you decided another family mattered more than the one you already had. She accused me of trying to control her body. I told her I wasn't controlling anything. She was completely free to have the baby. I was completely free to leave. Those 2 things could exist at the same time. She didn't like that answer. Her employer called me a few days later. I'd never spoken to him outside of company parties. He told me I was abandoning my wife during the most vulnerable period of her life. I laughed. Interesting choice of words. What do you mean? She's carrying your child. Silence. So congratulations. Then I hung up. The divorce moved forward. She expected me to keep doing everything I always had. Doctor appointments, late-night cravings, pregnancy emergencies, emotional support, nursery shopping. I declined every single request. Each time I gave exactly the same answer. Please contact the baby's father. She cried, she screamed, she accused me of punishing an innocent child. I reminded her I wasn't punishing anyone. I simply refused to participate. Even her parents tried guilting me. Her father called me selfish. Her sister called me cruel. Then my own mother surprised everyone. She looked directly at my wife during one family gathering and calmly asked, When exactly did you expect my son to become a free babysitter for another man's child? Nobody answered. The room stayed silent. Our children were confused. They kept asking why mommy was always crying. I never insulted their mother. I simply said, Sometimes adults make choices that change their families. My oldest son was 11. Kids are smarter than adults give them credit for. One night he quietly asked, Is mom having her boss's baby? I looked at him for a long moment. Then I nodded. He stared at the floor. That's really messed up. I hugged him because there wasn't anything else to say. Everything exploded 2 days before the birth. The employer's wife was driving home from visiting family when a drunk driver crossed the center line. She suffered catastrophic injuries. Doctors placed her in intensive care. Her prognosis was terrible. The employer practically moved into the hospital. Meanwhile, my wife went into labor. She kept calling me, Please come. Please just be there. Please don't let me do this alone. I never answered. She had her mother with her. That was enough. The baby was born healthy, a little boy. I sincerely hoped he would have a good life. None of what happened was his fault. 3 days later, my wife appeared on my porch without warning. She looked completely broken, hair tangled, eyes swollen. She had obviously been crying for days. The newborn slept in a carrier against her chest. She didn't even say hello. She immediately started crying. I just need 1 hour. I stayed in the doorway. I haven't slept. Silence. I haven't showered. Silence. My mom went back to work. Still silence. Please, just hold him while I clean myself up. I looked at the baby, then at her, then back again. No. She blinked. What? No. Please. Call his father. He's living at the hospital. Then call someone else. I don't have anyone. I shrugged. That isn't my responsibility. She started sobbing. I made a mistake. I know. I want my family back. It's too late. You still love me. Not enough. You can't be this cold. I'm not cold. I'm simply refusing to solve a problem you created. She screamed so loudly, one of my neighbors stepped outside. She accused me of abandoning a helpless infant. I calmly corrected her. I didn't abandon anyone. I was never responsible for him. She finally left. The baby cried the entire walk back to her car. For a moment, I actually felt sorry for her. Then I remembered every conversation where she dismissed me with the same sentence. My body, my choice. Exactly. Choices have consequences. The next morning, everything became even worse. The employer's wife died from a massive brain hemorrhage. She never regained consciousness. My wife called me almost immediately afterward. She could barely breathe through her sobbing. He says he can't raise the baby. I didn't respond. He says every time he looks at him, all he sees is losing his wife. Still nothing. He wants to place him for adoption. Finally, I asked, "What does your contract say?" She cried even harder. I don't know. You signed it. I never thought. No. I interrupted. You never asked. She begged me to help convince him, to talk to him, to help them figure something out. I refused. A few hours later, she forwarded me a message from him. It simply read, "I'm sorry, but I can't be a father right now. I'm drowning. I don't know who I am anymore." She expected sympathy. Instead, I asked one question. Did either of you ever stop to think about what would happen if life didn't follow your plan? She never answered. 2 weeks later, I learned something that made the entire situation even uglier. During the financial discovery process for our divorce, my attorney uncovered payments she had never disclosed. Large ones. Very large ones. She hadn't volunteered to become a surrogate out of kindness. She had signed a private agreement worth nearly $240,000. She had hidden every dollar from me. Her plan had been to surprise me after the birth with enough money to pay off the mortgage. She actually believed I'd forgive everything once I saw the check. Instead, hiding the money became another issue in the divorce. The judge wasn't impressed. Neither was the IRS after questions started being asked about undeclared income. Then came the final twist: DNA testing, required before the employer could establish legal parental rights. The results shocked everyone. He wasn't the biological father. Neither embryo had survived. The clinic had made a devastating mistake during one of the transfers. Somehow, through a chain of medical failures that investigators would later spend months unraveling, the implanted embryo belonged to a completely different couple. The newborn wasn't biologically related to either my wife or her employer. The hospital immediately launched an investigation. Lawyers flooded in from every direction. The intended parents were eventually located across the country. They had believed their final embryo had been destroyed years earlier after a storage mix-up. Instead, it had been implanted into a stranger. When they learned their biological son was alive, they fought for custody. After months of hearings, they were awarded full parental rights. The little boy finally went home with the family, who had spent years believing they would never meet him. For the first time since all of this started, someone in the story actually got a happy ending. As for my ex, she lost her marriage, she lost the money after legal fees, she lost the respect of almost everyone around her, she resigned from her job. Her employer disappeared from public life after settling multiple lawsuits. Our divorce was finalized 9 months later. I received primary custody of our 3 children because the court agreed I had provided the most stable environment throughout the entire ordeal. Last month, my ex asked if we could start over. She said she finally understood what she'd thrown away. I wished her well. Then I went home, because sometimes people confuse freedom with immunity. You're free to make whatever choices you want. You just aren't free to choose the consequences once those choices arrive.